Welcome to Watch the Podcast.
Thought you were gonna go for like a Top Gun thing, and then you turned into like Alien.
Top Gun.
Oh, wait, what's my Top Gun
It's
thing?
kind of like Mike Myers
on
vibes.
the news right now.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Top
you.
Gun.
Wait. Just hold your horses. Okay. Wait, what's the Top Gun song?
I don't know. No idea.
Something about your heart, right?
Okay, all right.
It's like something like that.
Here, let's
You
see.
uncultured swines. Welcome back to What the Podcast. I'm Ryan.
I'm John.
And together we are
Ryan and John.
on the couch, as always, producer Cara Tafolla. And this week, we'll see about next week. Who knows? But this week, we've got in the studio the lovely Annie the Skovmand.
Go.
Let's give it up for the
Skov.
Skov. Hey. Straight from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's Skovmand.
One day, I'm gonna ditch that last name.
No,
I don't
no,
even
no.
care
You
if
should
I'm married.
hyphenate.
I'm just gonna get a new
You
one.
should hyphenate.
No, why do you need a new one? Just be Annie.
Oh,
Like
drop it all.
Beyonce, just Annie.
Yeah.
Whoa,
or
that's-
Anna.
that's bold.
I mean, that is
No.
technically
Anna.
your name.
No.
One word, Anna.
Can you do that? Can you drop your last name like
You
that?
can do whatever you want, man.
Pretty sure you can.
Roll up to City Hall.
Legally, you can.
Yeah, probably.
Yes. I know. You ask me how I know.
Well,
Ask me how I know.
because he legally changed
about
his name to
Cher?
just
Diesel.
Diesel.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's just
just
Diesel.
Cher?
No last name.
Doesn't Cher know
That
her
is your last
No.
name, no last name.
Diesel, no last name is all one word.
Dang.
John,
Classic.
you got somewhere to be, bud?
No, I'm just seeing if a single name is legal in California.
Sure.
He's just double checking that you can
okay.
change your name to Diesel.
The Skov. How about like
The
the as our first name,
The
No.
or like a hyphen kind of
you
situation?
just need to be known as that, like The Rock.
Right. I would
Yeah.
imagine they're all kind of like just stage name type situations and have no bearing on.
Okay, listen to this.
oh,
As for changing your name to one single name, it's generally impossible in the U.S., but there are some exceptions. As a result, only a handful of U.S. citizens have passports listing a single name. So yeah, take that. There's no way people can just drop their last names. Don't you feel like everyone would just do that? Like,
Yeah,
wouldn't it be
I
like a
guess-
trend?
I guess that makes sense. But I mean, what we call people and what they're actually technically called is
I think
pretty
it's
much
all-
well, it's like
pointless.
all kind of-
Beyonce. Like,
Beyonce.
I mean, her last name's Carter, but like no one. It's like Beyonce Carter. It's just like Beyonce.
I thought it was Beyonce Knowles.
That's her maiden name.
Oh,
I thought
Get with
Jay-Z's
it.
last name is
It's
Carter.
Carter.
Yep.
Because they have a song called The
Whoa,
Carters
hold
or
on,
something
hold
like that.
Okay.
Beyonce Knowles Carter.
Yeah.
That's what it's like listed as.
Beyonce Carter Knowles.
No, I think it's Knowles is her middle name. That's another trend that I don't like with women. Sorry, Cara, if you did this. When they
didn't.
move their maiden
Don't worry,
name
don't
to
worry,
their
I
middle
didn't.
name.
As their middle name.
Beyonce.
My
She
sister did
really,
that.
She really considered it though.
No, I didn't.
Didn't you?
No, I like my middle name.
Oh, you
I
wanted to
would
put
not
it on
get rid of-
Facebook though.
I would not get rid of my middle name. I like my middle name.
Yeah.
No,
that's good.
I don't like
It's a good
that.
one.
My sister kept it, so my sister's name is Erin Skovmand Shaw, and I was
Ooh,
like, that
that's a
sounds
bold
awful.
move.
Erin,
Everyone
I'll
used
say
to
that to your
think-
face. I don't care if
What
you hear
about
this.
Everyone used to
If you hear
Everyone-
this, thanks for listening.
If you're listening, amazing. What about people can call themselves whatever they want and you shut up? How about that?
Whoa.
Hey, you know what?
Dang.
That's
I think
aggressive.
she likes to humble
God,
pie.
or- Nice
Well,
little-
we
yeah, let
did.
me
We
slice
did
it up for
choose
you.
violence.
Yes,
Yeah.
we did.
We're at war, Ryan and I.
Yeah, the war is a little bit childish. I'm not gonna lie, but it's a war
Okay,
nonetheless.
I mean, bigger wars have been fought for
Yeah, it's
lesser
true.
things.
That's true.
So,
Yeah.
speaking of violence,
Go ahead. It's good to
Classic.
transition.
Good
Go ahead.
transition.
It's been about a week since the second largest mass shooting in American history, which means a week has gone by and we're done talking about it. Apparently,
Yeah.
sad truth. Hate to hit you with that, but
Media kind of dropped that one. But also, I feel like there is a little bit of momentum still going. I read an article today that there's legislation that's being created. And it's called
common sense gun laws.
Protect Our Kids, I think is the legislation
Okay.
name.
Shoot.
I'll look it up.
Let's hear it.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a bunch of people that it's the same thing that we talk about every time there's a mass shooting about gun control, or at the very least regulation with gun control, which I don't think is very much to ask. A common misconception about the gun control legislation now, obviously different pieces of legislation is different.
Sure.
But most of the documents that they've produced in either the House or the Senate has nothing to do with actually taking away any right to guns. It just is adding a longer waiting period and a stricter background check in order to acquire the gun. So you actually get to acquire the gun at some point. There's just more hoops to jump through, which isn't a bad thing.
What do you
should have
think?
been
What do you
that
think
way
about
anyways,
that?
right?
I guess that's that's
Well,
kind of a
in some
big-
states,
Yeah.
in Texas, you can go down to the store and buy a gun and walk out
Yeah.
at the same day, as long as you don't have a history of being a felon or, you know what I'm saying? But in California, that's not necessarily the case. But
What do you think about all of it? I know that's a big question, and I threw us directly into this topic.
no,
so
I'm
my apologies.
Listen,
but
one thing we've talked about on the show is having hard conversations, and this is one of those hard conversations. So I will preface it with the statement that we're here sharing our opinions,
Sure.
and that we're not experts on the topic. But it's
what's
important that we do
what's
talk about
Maury,
it.
I want your thoughts on the whole thing,
The whole thing.
the gun problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is definitely a
I
problem.
guess I should say the mass shooting problem.
Yeah, the mass shooting problem, I think, well, I'll say this. There's kind of two schools of thought, in my opinion. There's like the access to these high-powered extra magazine, like assault rifles,
Yep,
which is
sure.
kind of insane to me. And then there's also the mental health issue in the U.S. And I think that the way that these two schools of thought intersect is in this mass shooting we're experiencing.
Sure.
I think almost, I don't know for sure, but almost all the time, somebody who goes up and it goes out and shoots up a school or shoots up a public, situation is suffering a major mental health, either break or mental health issues, is struggling in that way.
State of being.
Yes, is struggling in
say.
state of being, is in that state of being. That also crosses over with the idea that it was able to acquire a high powered weapon that are used in these mass shootings.
Sure.
Awful. Like it's the worst thing. And I'm telling you this from somebody who has almost every single family member works in a school.
Sure.
Like all my siblings work in a school. My mom's worked in a school her whole life. And my mom isn't the type to like lock the door and wait and lock down. My mom, there was a situation in her school a couple of years ago where they had gotten reports of somebody walking around with the handgun or whatever. My mom locked her kids with her substitute teacher at the time and then went out with the janitor to like find this guy.
Wow.
Like that's the kind of people my family are. Not necessarily
surrounded with.
But you know what I'm saying? So like every time we hear about a mass shooting, my brain goes there. Like,
Of course.
because that would, like, my mom would be the person that's like running at him, and that my mom is just built that way, and my siblings are similar, you know what I'm saying? So, and it sucks.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing that could possibly happen, and it happens all too often in this country. So I think that's really where we're seeing the crossover is easy access to weapons that maybe Americans don't need, or if they do want them, they need to go through several like restricting hoops of like, I have to do all these things like training and background checks and mental health, clearings.
I can't understand. Like we're talking about Uvalde, Texas, right? Where this
Yes.
kid that was 18 years old as soon as he turned 18, he went through and he got 2 assault rifles, I think, something like that. 2 large magazine weapons.
Yeah.
That's absolutely ridiculous. When I can't even, you start training to drive a vehicle, which everybody does, and that's obviously a very different thing. You got to, you have to do your permit test. You have to know all the information about a car. You have to sit with somebody inside a car and drive. And if you don't drive right, you don't get to drive.
Yes.
And then you have to, when people get older, they have to reevaluate for their license. Like when they're in maybe a mental state that's not good for driving for other people.
Reassessment. Yeah, I know.
There's restrictions in vehicles. You got to wear your seatbelt. You got to, there's airbags in these things. They're built so that like loss of life is minimized so much now.
Yeah.
I don't understand why we can't get our act together.
Yeah, I think
Makes
you're
no
right
sense to
on.
me.
You're right on in the sense that it is, in some states in the U.S., it is very easy to go out and buy these high-powered assault rifles, and I think that is a lot of where the problem happens too. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, that intersecting circles of like, it's very readily available, and we have people who are struggling in a mental health state where you're like, there's, I like, again, this guy obviously it's an awful situation. Like he deserves to go to jail for the rest of his life, and he with any luck will, right?
Yes.
But the reality is
He's actually dead.
Oh, that's right. He died. I apologize.
If you're talking about the more recent mass shooting, which was in Oklahoma,
That's right.
on Sunday,
So rough.
are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
we can't go like 2 weeks without. I think there's been 3 in the last 2 weeks.
Isn't that how it goes though? It's literally
The
one starts,
what do you call it,
and
ones?
then it's
Yeah.
wait, this person did this, so I can now.
The
Mentality.
I think
copycats.
Copycats.
Yes, that always happens. Like whenever
does.
there's one, there's always another, and then there's a big break, which really isn't a big break.
Right.
no. The U.S. has like, I've been reading stats because it's unfortunately relevant in the time that we're in, but the U.S. pales in comparison with mass shootings
it's
anywhere else in the
It's
world.
awful.
It's so.
And it is like,
By hundreds.
Yeah.
and you know what the
Yeah.
conversation always is? Is like,
There's a few places it always goes, but go ahead.
yeah, but yes, you're right.
Yep.
There are a lot of different areas, but like the conversation that I don't understand afterwards is like, well, we can't take guns away because it's our right. It's our American right to own these guns. And I'm like thinking,
Yeah.
what? Like, I'm sorry, what?
I don't
that's-
understand it.
that's
at
the-
all.
that's the
I can't
conversation you
think
wanna
of
have now?
I would imagine the only like basis for that is, and it's in the Constitution, that we're entitled to form a militia in the event that the government becomes like totalitarian.
Yeah.
And I just feel like we're so far beyond that people in the U.S. could arm themselves enough to fight our $800 billion a year military budget is hilarious to me. So put that aside for a second.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've just been really having a hard time with the other, like, understanding the other side of the argument. In all honesty, if they did say, yeah, tomorrow we're taking all guns, maybe not guns, maybe assault rifles, anything that's not a handgun, and they said, yeah, tomorrow we're taking, I think I would be okay with it.
Oh, interesting.
I know that's like obviously not the like, I don't know, because it's a slippery slope.
No.
I can't understand the need for them beyond shooty, funny, haha, stick, go boom. Like,
Let me play devil's advocate for the
Let's
other
do
side
it.
for a second. So the
interesting.
reason why it's so hard, right, is because like the whole idea. There's an argument that the whole idea it's stupid that we're fighting over the Second Amendment since it's a literal change to the Constitution. Like that's what an
amend
amendment
it.
is.
Let's just amend it.
The hard part about amending it is it like is so clearly written, like you have the right to bear arms. So now it's to amend that. It's not like when we decided that, like women should have the vote. There was nowhere in it where it was like
Explicitly
only men
saying one
can
thing
vote,
and then
yeah.
an explicit contradiction
and
of
then
itself.
yeah. So what's hard is like now the argument, like truly, like on a lawmaking standpoint, it's well, where does the government have the right to like define what your right is? So it's like,
I feel
okay,
like we
where is
can
it from? Like,
reclassify what a firearm is, right? I mean,
well, yeah,
like
so
a
there's-
personal firearm.
There's that argument, but what their argument is rooted in is this idea of like they're not seeing it of a oh, like, yeah, like we should just tone back the guns, which I'm in support of like, yeah,
Sure.
tone it back. I don't think a 15-year-old should have any sort of, access to some automatic weapon like that, But at the same time, their argument is like, oh, well, at what point, if they're changing what my right is, the Second Amendment of like the Constitution so clearly says like you have this right, and then however many amendments later you're like, well, actually the right looks more like this. Like at what point does that
I think when it starts infringing on other people's rights.
Well,
because
absolutely.
If my right as an American citizen to have a gun is more important than an American citizen that's
Having
a
a life.
child that is alive and breathing, and I'm going to take that right away from you because it's my right to have this, I think that's where the breakdown is because we're killing ourselves out here.
And then
it's
it's so interesting to me. There's like, at the same time that this argument's coming back up for the millionth time, we also have the argument that's coming back up for the millionth time of abortion. And it's like the left and the right, like they're saying like the opposite things, right?
Yeah.
Like the conservatives are saying like, oh, well, you can't have an abortion.
babies,
You're
keep the
killing a
guns.
child. But hey, man, like, what do you mean you want to take my assault rifle?
Yep.
That sounds whack. And it's like, okay, well, maybe we want to take your assault rifle in the like case that something horrible happens to it someday, when
Yes.
someone steals it, and then they use, like. And
or, God forbid,
I'm,
like your child in the home. Like you are, right? We're talking about an 18-year-old, which means last year he was 17, which means like a couple years ago he went through puberty, like the most formative years of your life where you're dealing with depression at even higher rates nowadays because of, everything.
Yeah.
It's like, God forbid, then, I obtained this weapon legally and I'm of sound body and mind, but my child who's going through something has easy access because we're in the same house.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, well, okay. Well, that just made it easier for, that person.
It's also like the hard part too is like, okay, it's like, where do you implement, like, is it like you have to turn in your assault rifles? Do these people lose out on the money they spent on them? Do you have to like register again?
In
Do you have
Australia,
to pay
they did
more?
a
Do you have to-
buyback where the government actually bought back these assault rifles from
They did.
Australian citizens.
Oh, was that legislation though?
That was legislation.
They forced them
Yeah.
to turn them in
Australia's
Well, I mean,
No,
pretty
I
it's-
think it was
because
just like
buybacks
a
happen in the
drive.
U.S.
It was like a
Buybacks
police
happen
drive.
in the U.S. all the time.
Sure, for illegal weapons, right?
No. They the police departments hold buybacks all the time. But that
I see those on the news sometimes. They've had a couple of them in the past few
that
months in San Diego.
you can turn in illegal ones. There's no questions
it's-
asked, but you can also turn
Oh
in
no, I thought
anything.
that was the gist. From my understanding, was like these are they'll buy back illegal weapons too, no questions asked, and
That you've somehow
but maybe not. I don't know.
come to,
That might be the purpose, but you can turn in anything.
I think yes. I honestly I don't know what else the answer is because I don't think there's a way that everyone can have assault rifles and we cannot have so many assault rifle attacks. It just doesn't line up for me.
Yeah.
It does not make sense.
I think it's
Yeah.
like also like an air of paranoia, right? It's like you have the right to like bear arms, and everyone's like, well, I
Sure.
need a gun to protect myself. I'm like, well, at what point of protecting yourself do you need a gun for? Like someone else with a gun?
Are you
Well, wouldn't it
protecting
be better if
yourself
you didn't
from
have a gun? Like wouldn't it
an
be
angry mob is going to
like-
come to your house and you're not going to be able to?
Which
like,
back in the day, that's
zombie
what
apocalypse?
it was. It was
Yes.
like the government would come and like the British Army would come and knock on your door and be like, "Hey, we're taking your house. Get out." So like back then, yes, have a
Makes
gun. The
sense.
only thing to
Times
share,
changed.
like get people away. But that gun also took like 5 minutes to load and shoot one
And I'm
bullet
not
that
saying
like barely
I'm not
had
saying
any direction.
I have like complete trust in the military either, or the government for that matter.
yeah.
I don't have complete trust in them to always protect us and always act in our favor.
Yeah.
But that being said, it does do what it we're the number one military power in the world. That's not for nothing. What are we doing? Really? So now we're going to hold on to this archaic thing where we're saying, yeah, everyone in America has a right to a murder weapon, mass murder weapon because of the British? I don't know.
Yeah. I also think the statistics are insane no matter what. But I also think to a degree, it's not fair in the sense of like comparing American crime statistics like with guns in particular to like gun statistics in England. England, like you cannot own a gun. Like
Yeah.
I was just reading about that.
So yeah, it's like
actually.
okay, well that's not fair. Let's look at like this sounds so crass, but like let's look at rape statistics.
Okay.
You know, like and I don't know that.
Where you don't need
But
to have a weapon.
Yeah,
for it to
where
happen.
it's like, okay, is the crime actually less, or is it gun violence is less? Because like, yeah, if you don't have guns, of course, gun violence is going to be less. But like, what's actual just crime?
I understand.
To say like,
I
yeah,
understand.
England's going to have less gun violence.
Compare us to another country where the gun laws are very, very
There's-
similar.
there's
which
none.
there's not.
Yeah,
There's none.
I
That's
was
the
just
hard
reading
thing
and
about
that's the
about
hard
that.
thing.
I
So
was
it's
reading
like,
about
of
that.
course, America's going to have insane gun violence compared to other places because America has an insane amount of guns.
It's just boiled
Yeah.
into the culture, and that's just not something that we can open our stupid little hand and let that go because it's so like I sound like a broken record, but it's just archaic to me. It sounds like we're talking about like, oh, and you have to take your like shepherds are only allowed to have like their crooks or something, or like something that we don't even. Why are we even talking about anymore? Because it's so not like cooked into, or it is like so cooked into the culture that it's like taken on its own thing. You know, it's not about like protecting ourselves anymore. It's about stick go boom.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Stick go boom.
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I think I agree in the sense that like restrictions need to be made for sure. Like I think you brought up a great point with the the driver's test.
Sure.
You know, it's like we
That kinda
we do
seems
put
like
people
bare
a lot
minimum,
of
right?
we do put a lot of people we do put people a lot through a lot to drive a car. You know what I'm saying? You take a written test.
Yep.
You have to go by. You know what I'm saying? And that makes sense because you're driving, you know, some odd ton vehicle or whatever, you know what I'm saying, and of like metal, and you're responsible in that sense to make decisions.
Well, and like,
In a lot of the
what is-
ways, like that is a murder weapon. Like,
Yeah.
and people have committed terrorist attacks with cars too.
So
But,
that's-
but think of like, this is gonna sound insane, but like
Okay.
the impact of life you could take with a car, like truly, if you had like one big crash, it could be upwards of like, you know what, maybe 10, 15.
Sure.
Crash into a big van or a bus.
You know, like yeah, maybe,
morbid.
but like the vast majority, it's like you're probably gonna impact like
Yeah.
maybe like 5 people on average for like a big kind of pile up if like you were actually like a loss of life, you know. That's not including like the crazy ones that randomly
Sure.
happen, you know. But like with a gun, a semi-automatic rifle, like you could take 200 lives in a moment, you know.
It's I mean, let's
That might
compare
be-
it. Let's compare it to.
Andy does not know how many bullets are in a semi-automatic rifle. That might
Definitely not
that might be
200.
too
I can tell you
intense.
that much.
but
20?
the way I mean, let's look at the way that the last few, like the Vegas attack at the Life is Beautiful
Yeah.
festival. That dude was stalked.
Yeah.
Like
Rough.
teeth to balls. Pardon my language. Like
Yeah.
that dude was like fully
God.
loaded. Had
Never
like
heard that
multiple
before. That's good.
teeth to
I
balls. You
like-
never
no,
heard?
never-
Never
was
heard that
good.
one. Yeah.
Ugh. Why
Pretty
can't you
good.
just say
I
head
knew
to
I knew when
head
I
to
said
toe?
it didn't sound right.
No, it's good.
No, what is it? Balls to the wall. Balls to the wall.
Okay.
Teeth to toe is maybe the
Teeth to
Head to
I
toe.
kinda-
It all sounds bad.
Whatever.
Anyway,
Teeth to
continue.
balls.
that
He
dude
had a
had
lot
like
of guns.
1,600 rounds of ammunition, like
In his
3 assault
suitcase.
rifles, like 4 bump stocks. Like he was ready to rain
people.
hellfire on people. Like similar situation in Uvalde too. It's like these guys are not like these are not crimes of passion. These are thought out because these guys are not well.
What was the big high school shooting?
Talking about Columbine.
Columbine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing with that is like
It
they
didn't
had
have to
set
go
like
any
car
further.
bombs.
Oh, I was gonna
you know,
bring
and
up
stuff like that.
I was gonna bring up 9/11.
Classic.
Think about the like the shift of culture that we had when 9/11 happened, because that devastated thousands of people, right?
Yeah.
Airplanes will never be the same because
We
of 9/11.
just watched a movie. We watched Final Destination 1, which came out the
Crazy.
year prior to
in the
9/11.
year 2000, and
it
they're
was
just
about
walking up on there.
it was about a plane crash, and it's like they don't go through security. There's like they even have stuff that
They
like
just
you
go
wouldn't
up to
even be
their
able to
gate.
bring into
Just
the
walk up to their gate.
And
Yeah.
now it's like you literally, to
So
go
crazy.
anywhere in an airplane, you have to pad your trip by an extra 2 hours because you have to go through security. They have to x-ray your body to make sure you don't have a weapon on this airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
You
know.
wonder why
It-
they
it
don't
seems
do that
equivalent to me.
They-
for
they bomb
hotels
swab you.
now.
Yeah.
After the Life is Beautiful, you know.
I think That specific hotel is pretty strict on security now, right?
I would imagine
They,
so.
they
hope
check
so.
your bag.
Or all of
Some-
Vegas.
In Vegas
but-
hotels, some of them you go through metal detectors and stuff. I would imagine it's
But it's
like
hard because like you could be like, oh yeah, I have my pocket knife. I'm
Right.
staying
Yeah.
at a hotel.
Sure.
Protection.
I don't
you know,
live
like,
here.
I don't think
don't
they're worried
live
about
here.
pocket knives.
Well,
They're like,
maybe.
gotta
they are on
confiscate
airplanes
that.
because
But
it's
I'm
a
saying
whole
like if
different
it was like a
situation.
metal detector, there's so much
Sure.
metal that you could have.
Yeah.
Just like in your
Yeah.
suitcase.
I don't know. I keep just landing on the like, and that's why I brought it up in the first place is because it truly is like this is where the narrative goes, and we have this conversation, and then
Nothing happens.
It like even like like you said, like they'll make moves toward new legislation and different like you'll hear from some government authorities like you've never seen before. Like a senator will be like, there's a guy in Texas that was like fully bringing the Texas governor like to task, and he was like at this press conference. You know what I'm
That's
talking
right. Yeah, I saw that.
about?
I saw that.
Beto or something.
Yeah, that's right.
It's but he's in the news, and it's like we need to like this can't keep going on.
But is that still happening right now?
No, dude,
knows?
guaranteed. If we record on Tuesdays, it's like
Watch
last week
something
we
come
recorded
out
on
in the next 2
Tuesday,
days.
kind of the day that it happened, and now we've recorded on the next Tuesday.
Yeah.
We're a week out, and
Here's what I'll
Yeah.
say.
I don't know.
I
I don't know.
agree with you 100% and that something needs to change. Like that is the one thing that like absolutely like something has to change.
Yeah.
And now whether or not they like ban certain rifles or they make it harder to register. I mean, I don't know what that looks like, but
I think
It's pretty rough.
It's got to be drastic because
I
we can't
I just don't know
keep
how
doing the
I just don't know
song and
how
dance.
you do that at a point where we're at in this country. You know what I'm saying? Like the buyback situation, or even like making them illegal. As we know in America, like in any country, really, you can make things illegal. They're still going to get made. They're still going to get bought, and they're still going to get sold. I
Sure.
mean, that stuff's still going to happen.
And I'm
so-
sure in the UK and in Australia and in these countries there is illegal gun trade. And
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still
So,
crimes that happen over there.
My thing is like if there are heavy restrictions, not only are you're going to weed out a lot of people from just going out and buying one, because if somebody who just like wants to have one isn't going to go through the 10 steps that they enact on how to do that, right?
the song and dance.
And then, but then,
A very determined, evil 18-year-old might.
but a very determined evil 18-year-old might find someone who can buy it on the street. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I think
you're right.
the more pressing issue is what I mentioned earlier is the mental health crisis in America. I think like that's where we're going to see change, not only in this area,
Yep.
awful area in society where we're going through these mass shootings. We're going to see a lot of things change if we start like being honest with ourselves in America that like, okay, mental health is a serious struggle. And like, is there any government funds that are going towards mental health
Well,
relief?
I would imagine
I think
not.
there's certain places like Texas or anywhere else that haven't fully accepted what is
Exactly.
going on in mental health
That
yet.
is the problem.
Where in California, it's so heavily talked about. We all know about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
I did look it up. I guess Gavin Newsom is like he's bringing in legislature that is those common sense gun laws and it happened I guess last week, like fairly quick.
Yeah.
But California, right?
Yeah.
We've been on the
California is
Yeah.
not.
we're a fairly liberal.
That's what's hard, right?
state.
Even when like going back to like abortion, like I was talking to someone, I'm like, yeah, well, I just don't like, I don't see a realistic world in which they actually can make it truly illegal. And she's like, yeah, but you live in California.
Yeah,
Like
it's true.
in Texas, they like that is a very normal, realistic view. And I was like, man, like that's true. Like I don't know a world.
Right.
I've only ever really lived in liberal places. Like I don't really know that world of where something like that would really be like
Yeah.
a life is someone's
It's
like
literally a life or death situation.
yeah, and
Like,
someone's like life is like, well, we'd rather have our guns, or
That's
we'd rather
kind
force you to have a
of-
child.
that was the Texas governor literally said, "Hey guys, could have been worse. Could have been worse. What was it? 19 kids dead, 2 teachers dead. Hey, but
Not to
Could've
mention
been
one of the
worse.
teachers.
Like, hey, remember when we had Waco?
Not to mention one of the teachers'
Way better than that one.
husbands who visited the memorial.
And then had a
Had a
heart
heart
attack.
attack.
Died of a
heart attack, died of broken heart.
Yeah.
Are we freaking serious?
4 kids. They had 4 kids.
Could have been worse.
And this is where
Right.
like this is what's always hard for me with the argument of like, oh, it's just like too like logistically, it's too much to like recall it and make it illegal now and all this stuff.
Right.
But I always look back and I'm like, but we went through prohibition, and yeah, like,
Yeah.
did we
A
overturn
fundamental
it?
shift in a whole like thing.
Yeah, where it's like we literally went through. We enacted prohibition because a whole section of America was like, we are tired of our husbands dying in drunk driving accidents. We are tired of losing our loved ones from drunk driving and drunkenness.
Sure.
Like, we are done with it. And they said, you know what? Good point. Okay.
And obviously, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio either.
But
like,
it's also
obviously
different. It's
there were
Speakeasies.
what do you call it? Well, no, I'm talking more like there were lobbyists for
Yeah.
the prohibition of alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
Just like right now in this country, which I don't understand how it can be possible, but there are companies and the NRA is allowed to just like dish out money to these senators every year, to senators, to representatives, and it's like, hey, like keep our food hot. Let's keep it rolling here, right? Like,
That's
are you
because
freaking kidding me?
corporations like that have human rights thanks to Citizens United versus the FEC
I just feel
Supreme Court
Whoa.
case.
Oh man.
Dang.
it's definitely
I knew you were on the show for a reason.
the important part about all this is that we continue to talk about it. We can't let it
We cannot
die. I mean, that's what it sounds like.
And
you know what I'm saying? It's like
I don't know. I've really been going through it lately, like just feeling very like tired, just like of that conversation and how it always ends. I'm just like, so, it's just so lame.
yeah, it's
Man,
rough.
I don't know. But you're right. And that's a negative way to look at it. Like it has to stay in the forefront. It has to be fresh.
Yeah, because if we want to see change, like you said, there are companies in the background that all these companies that sell guns or maybe make ammunition. They're constantly pouring. Their conversation is all in dollars. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't have to do a thing. They don't have to rally people. They just send over a wire and that's how they keep the policies on top. The way that we keep our side going is by continually talking about it and not really taking anything else other than that, and electing officials that reflect our thoughts and opinions. You know what I'm saying? Like the officials get elected all the time, and whether we like to believe that things can change with somebody new, it can. We've seen it change in the past. This country has only gotten to where it's gotten is because new people come in and they are a more accurate view of the people that they're representing.
I sure hope so, man.
And progression happens. Now, in this scenario, it does feel like we've been stuck for a long time. But that doesn't mean in the next election cycle we can't just decide to send somebody else.
Yep. You're right.
And that's kind of the interesting part too, that you brought up the states and how in different states it's a different world, and that's kind of the beauty of America is that you get to choose where you live, and in that small circle, although in this case it doesn't feel like an isolated world, it feels like we're all grieving this traumatic, awful loss. You do get to decide in your area like how you want to be represented.
I think that's more it is, because I don't know necessarily how much you can choose where you live. I think a lot of times you get dealt a certain hand, and I think people in impoverished parts of the country have less of a say, unfortunately, than people in like bigger cities or I should say like better well-off parts of the country.
No, for sure.
And that's just kind of the sad truth about it.
Yeah.
But you're right in, sorry, that was my keyboard.
Sorry.
In that it has to start at that like local level, because
we have to keep talking about and we have to elect people that we feel
thing.
Like, whether we like it or not, or like I saw people post about it and it seems like not like a reality, but people post about like, hey, email your representative. And it seems like, what is my email
like,
going to do?
womp.
But we have somebody that worked in a representative office, several offices. And I don't know how much of that, like, do you think sways, but emailing a representative is...
Yeah, wait, is he painting a good picture of local legislature, or
maybe
how
I'm
are you
way
feeling
off
about this?
I just don't know
Annie?
what else, but...
It's hard. The way that, so like, let's break it down. House of Representatives. House of Representatives is a 2-year office. It's your local congressman when you, like in your like local area. They're the people voting on you. It's a 2-year role. So they get elected. First 6 months is learning the gig.
Okay.
6 months is voting in DC, and then the next year is trying to get reelected.
So crazy.
What the heck?
Yeah, and on top of the second year of them trying to get reelected, they're also still voting, still meeting. So yeah, call your congressman has way more power than you know. Like I worked in an office, which it was like what actually pursued me away from government, which is sad. But
But now you're here, so we'll take it.
I watched them like.
Wait,
we'd have-
legit? That's so freaking cringy. Like they only do their job for 6 months out of the 2 years.
Well, like
that
they
they're...
do it the whole time, but like
campaigning
you have
is
to
part
like
of the job.
It, like
my
that's
God.
like if they don't campaign, if they don't get reelected, they lose their job, and everyone in their office loses their job.
So they're fighting
Like,
for their
you
whole
get-
office.
That's so
Yeah, you
fake.
get, like-
Your job is to
They're just
keep
fighting
your
the whole
job.
time.
Are you kidding
and,
me?
and that's where it's like it's
Dang.
annoying. So right, like
Yeah.
a senator has their office for 6 years.
Uh-huh.
So you can like Kamala Harris. Like
senator
I
does.
worked with Kamala Harris when she was senator.
Okay.
When I lived in DC, I stopped by her office and I met with not her, but like her whole team, and her team was amazing.
Sure.
But it was also a totally different vibe than my office, because my office was like, you know, the reality is they vote on so many bills a day. They have legislative aides where like your job as a legislative aide is to know that legislation, to
And
basically
explain
give
it
them
to
the
them.
cliff notes to see where they want to vote.
Like Michael J. Fox in that movie.
It's hard because it's like
Yes.
at some point there, especially in California, right? You're so disconnected.
Yeah.
That's a 7-hour flight. That's a time zone away.
Yeah.
Like you're disconnected from your
Constituents.
people, your constituents.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, for the most part, people in your office, if they're not local, people in DC, they've never been there.
Yeah.
I was one of the only people who was in that office who'd ever even been to the district.
And you're like,
And I was like,
hey.
I'm from there. I live in the same town as him. And they're like, oh, you've actually been there? And it's like, what?
you're like, what do you mean?
In our district, the 50th district of San Diego, which we currently are in, goes all the way to El Centro and all the way up past like almost the top of like Temecula
Dang.
Whoa, wow.
and down and like all the way down to like the edge of El Cajon. So like that is a huge margin of error. Like that is such like if
Yeah, you
he
think
had
about
event-
those three communities, Temecula, here, and then El Centro, you're like, that doesn't
and
match
then
up at all.
I worked for a guy who ran for Congress, and his it was the 53rd district, 52nd,
Which, by the way, love his platform.
and
Just as an aside.
and his whole thing was like he had San Clemente, which is like a beach town in like very north San Diego County, barely San Diego County, Encinitas, all the way to La Costa, down like Carlsbad, all the way bottom of Encinitas to La Costa, and like up. And this whole thing was like, okay, inland was all red. The ocean, like the like small ocean sections were like strong blue. And he was trying to run as like a moderate. And so it's the kind of thing where it's like, it's so hard because these people are drastically different. So how do you vote on behalf of everyone in your district
Yeah.
when
Oh.
your district is so drastically different?
Whose pocketbook's bigger?
And then so at some point it's like, well,
Beautiful
now,
mansions on the-
now they're letting us down. So like, yeah,
the
write your
shore.
congressman,
He's going to let
but like,
somebody down.
write your congressman, call the office. Like I also sat in the office and watched, I watched our legislative aides help but the biggest win for that I saw was like this Navy wife, her husband had passed, but like it was something where she was basically getting kicked out of like housing. And she just needed help. And she literally called and was like, I don't know what to do. And our office ended up finding out like some grant and got her $20,000
Wow.
to help her with that transition. And it was just the thing where it's like, wow. But then on the same page, we have a lot of immigrants in San Diego County. And I watched people be here on asylum. And they said like, come back in 5 years. Because there's only 2 people in the DC office who actually work in that.
Wow. Dang.
You know, so it's like the wheels of government are really slow. If you call enough, if you like,
So not like
annoy enough, yeah, you're gonna get change. If you show up, you'll get change. But if you just,
I think we have a lot
Email?
of faith in a system that doesn't necessarily like, you know what I mean? Like we put a lot of like, oh well, this is a free country, right?
Pride.
And like we have pride in the fact that we are a government run by representatives, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times it's like, yeah, eventually. Like,
Here's the big thing.
yeah, they fought for civil rights for, decades, almost centuries. And it's like,
And this is going to be kind of controversial.
cool.
If you actually
Hit it.
want change, show up. Volunteer in the office. Actually be there. Go to protests. Join volunteer for lobbying companies. Actually go. Because an email, a check's great, whatever. But a phone call, an email, like it only can get you so far at the end of the day. Because as the intern who looked through those, like you skim like 100 a day.
Look your senator dead in the face and say, make change, right?
Yeah, actually show up.
Sure.
Go. Because, it's a lot harder to say no to a room full of 100 people versus 100 emails.
But then I'm one of those people in Parks and Rec that like shows up to the town meetings.
They're like, that's
and it's
child
like-
size.
So good.
That's 1,000 grams of sugar. Well, a small child can fit in it. That's why it's called child size. We want
When
Paunch
they-
Burger.
I love my favorite it's like one of the early episodes, but when they have to like insist that people stop drinking from the water fountains like with their mouth on the spout.
All the way on it, yeah.
Oh God. Ew.
And you know what's sad? That's so true.
It's
like
so
that's,
true.
You
Yeah,
have
man.
I think
you
your
have
water
that.
tastes like metal.
And as someone who's worked in government, it's insane the things you have to tell people. Absolutely insane. Where you're like, I just didn't realize that I had to make it this clear.
Well, hey, speaking of protest, we're kind of speaking of protest.
yeah, international
Something
news.
pretty epic happened this week, where a man smeared cake on the Mona Lisa,
Yeah.
Yeah, I found out
priceless painting.
after doing a little research on it that it was protected.
It was glass.
It was
Yeah.
glass.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the Mona
So the
Lisa.
Mona Lisa's fine.
But
didn't
Thank
touch it.
God.
God. Well,
It's the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
It's
man.
a pretty
here's what I'll
ugly
say
painting.
though. For a display, it does look like it's just hanging on the wall.
Sure.
It doesn't have like a lot of like stereotypical security. You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
Emma literally told me when I told her this, she was like, how? When I went, there were security guards all around it, and there's a
So-
ton of people.
That's how this
inside
happened,
job,
ready?
Inside job.
No, I'll tell you.
That's
He
like a
dressed
movie.
up. I'm telling you, I read this article and it could be wrong.
telling you.
Somebody fact check me.
Where's your source?
No, I read a similar
I read
article
that
said
he
things.
was dressed up as an old woman in a wheelchair, and he like rolls up
And
to
so
the
yeah,
front.
they all they parted so that they
so
could,
all the
those
security
wheelchair
guards are like,
ladies could
"Oh,
come.
just a little old
Let
woman."
this stupid old woman
and then
see
she
this before
gets
she
then,
dies.
and then he is
Yeah, it was a
actually
boy.
him, and he gets up with the cake and smears it, and then gets
Let
hauled
them eat
off.
cake.
But he's like wearing a wig and like
Whoa.
old women clothing,
Incredible.
and like it was a whole thing. I don't know why you would go into such,
You know what? A lot of people
premeditated.
I was listening to this, and a lot of very famous. It's like a very famous protest of like getting pied or like getting cake shoved in your face.
interesting.
Of like, from what I heard, like Prince Charles has been caked. Ronald Reagan had gotten caked
Yeah,
on his
yeah,
face. Like
yeah.
it's like a very.
Reagan?
It's almost like you're a clown.
Yes.
Like this is like. And I guess in a way, like you could argue, I don't know do we know what the protest was
It
about?
was for climate change.
It was for the way
Now
that we're
that's-
handling climate change.
Now
Which-
that seems stupid.
Does it?
right.
That
The
seems
planet's
stupid.
melting.
But it makes
What are you
why
talking
the Mona
about?
Lisa like
Wait, what do you
But
mean?
why the Mona
Wait,
Lisa?
okay,
Like,
wait.
Tell me
that
what you,
target
hold on.
is stupid.
Hold on. Are you team Mona Lisa or are you team climate change?
I'm team.
They shouldn't
okay,
go
first
together.
of all,
Yeah,
not
it's
two options we're gonna
totally
give out.
Totally different
okay.
arguments.
I'm team not.
Okay, are you team we're going to hold up this freaking piece of art that's not only ugly but old and expensive
Hey,
and
Ryan,
we're
do
going
you
to
like the
stand
Mona
around
Lisa?
and I don't like it.
I don't-
Are you kidding? Have you seen it? It's so
not that
ugly.
bad. I'm gonna get you a
Why
copy
isn't she
for,
smiling?
for your
Yeah, we should get
birthday.
one in here.
We need a tiny one right here hanging over here.
people say that she doesn't smile. There's a little smirk on that little face.
Yes.
I will
She's
say
got-
she
Here's
is
what I'll
ugly.
say.
She has no
She's
You
ugly.
have
eyebrows.
She's
to
ugly.
listen. You have to respect it as like a
Mona Lisa's gonna
societal cultural icon.
hope she does.
You know what I'm saying? Like that
Why?
painting is so famous.
Why? Hey, you know what's going to be here after the ice caps freaking
Oh
flood the
my
earth?
gosh! But
Nothing.
you think this is the
The
way to
Mona
handle it?
Lisa.
Somebody's got to do something.
Oh, And that's the way to handle it.
I honestly, would you rather have cake
That guy's a
on
jackass.
all of?
No, you go
I
to a
think he's
climate
hero.
change rally and cake someone
think
there.
This
Well,
old,
that's what I'm
the
saying,
old
like,
woman
or you
was a
cake
hero.
something that
cake
makes
Jeff
sense.
Bezos.
Hey,
Cake
you know
something
what?
that makes
We're all
sense.
talking about it, right?
Does the government own the Mona Lisa? No, right?
Is it about the act or is it about bringing
The
attention
Mona
to
Lisa
something?
itself is not killing the earth.
It's
Well, that's what
private.
I get.
But the Mona Lisa is this thing that's in a museum that we're like throwing millions of dollars at the Louvre, right? And it's like, that is societies. We care about this like stupid picture on the wall. Well,
Here's
guess
my
what?
thing.
F society and F your Mona Lisa. The
There's nothing
earth
about
is
climate change there.
it's a flame. Well, that's what I'm saying. So is it like, does an act of defiance have to be related to the thing? Like,
Yes.
did he have to like?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just does.
We're
Because
talking
it makes
about
no
it.
sense.
We're
No
talking
one-
about it.
No
I'm
one's
not
talking about
talking at
climate
all.
change.
I'm not
Everybody's
talking all
talking about
about what
climate
he's
change.
saying about climate change. I don't give a crap
Okay,
about it. I'm
okay,
like,
fair,
why the Mona
fair.
Lisa, bro?
Yeah.
Why not?
Fair.
Why not?
Screw
like
the Mona
at
Lisa.
least like do something that has something to do with like the climate. Like do a famous
Would
painting.
that has a tree
make
in it.
people
A tree. Do a
would
tree
that
painting.
make
The tree of
people
life.
talk about climate change and end climate change?
But no one's talking
No, but
about it.
No.
I'd be like, I get why you chose that.
Everybody's talking about it.
No, everyone's talking about the Mona Lisa being caked. They don't
and
care
why,
about the reason.
Why was it caked?
You know,
No one
They
cares.
don't care about the
Ryan,
reason.
by the
They
way,
don't care
I'd
that
like
an
to
old
bring up
lady in a
a
wheelchair.
perspective.
Go
Don't
ahead.
you feel like this guy doing such a ridiculous random act gives eco activists a bad name, a bad face to the cause? Don't you think like this crazy guy smears cake on the Mona Lisa and what? We're supposed to care about climate
What
change?
has the Mona
He's
Lisa
a
done
crazy
for the
person.
climate, for the Earth? Truly, what is the Mona Lisa
Nothing.
for the Earth?
Has nothing to do with climate change.
It does
It's
not
done
have
nothing.
nothing
It
to
was
do with
made
climate
years
change.
and years and years ago.
It makes climate change activists look like crazy people.
Yeah, a little bit.
It makes them feel like, oh, this is the way. Some guy literally thought, oh,
I
I'm
think
gonna
before you go any further, I think he's a hero.
Okay,
Go
I
ahead.
know you do.
Go ahead.
But this guy sat around and he thought, I know how I'll enact climate change.
What's the
I'll dress up
craziest-
like an old woman.
what's the craziest
I'll
thing I can
roll
do?
in on the wheelchair and I'll just cake the Mona Lisa, but which, by the way, would not cause any damage to the
Because
Mona
there's
Lisa.
glass. That's
because
true.
there's glass.
Which he probably didn't think through.
Which is makes
when
makes,
he saw the cake an inch off of the Mona Lisa,
He's
he's like,
like,
"Oh, the glass. There's bulletproof glass."
it makes
beat him
it makes the cause to me, it makes it mutes the cause. It makes the whole community look like, okay, we're a bunch of idiots that are going to cake the Mona Lisa to try and get change. That's stupid.
There's no cause at the end of the day. There's no cause. Is we all live on the earth, and we either
All right.
save the earth or we all melt. I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? So let's all start talking about climate change. Let's all petition for Jeff Bezos to be shot into the sun, right? Let's stop big corporations from doing stuff. I don't know, man. Like, we're talking about it is the point. Like, I got to do something crazy drastic.
Yeah, I mean,
know.
I think
I almost like I see where you're coming from,
Thank you.
but
Thank you.
I just want to root for
I
him.
just want you to see
because
where I'm
the
coming
Mona
from.
Lisa, the museum,
Boo.
like who cares, right? Who cares? Art is dead.
Oh my god.
Okay,
you know
saying-
that's not true.
saying- coming from the person
lying.
that we are going to go to the Met next week.
Yeah, you're
Yeah, somebody cake something
you're
at the
fake.
Met
You're,
while you're there.
you're,
Yeah.
And then you'll
You're a
go,
fake bitch.
I'm with him.
Yeah.
I'm with him.
Yeah, somebody's gonna.
My hero. And
No,
they'll be like,
they're
"Shut
gonna
the
attack
F up
a
and get
Jackson
out of
Pollock
here."
painting, but we won't know because it's just splattered.
I don't
Jackson
know.
Pollock, Annie.
I think
yeah.
Thanks.
I think it's the wrong way to go about it, if you ask me. There's so
Same.
many other ways you could do it, and I think art
Call your
is
local
such
government.
is such a foundational
Or
in
just go to
culture
your local government.
that you, like,
Petition
if
them.
you're going to attack art, you're attacking the people that are going to help you.
The art community.
The art community is pro climate change. I mean, pro climate.
I mean, not Da Vinci.
okay, all right. Well, it's a
Why?
lose-lose
Wait, what
here.
do you
He's not much of
mean?
anything these days.
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
It was good. This
I would say
conversation
if
was
he
great
was here-
until
if he
while it
was-
lasted.
If he was here, he'd be pro climate change.
I just think
Oh,
it's.
yeah.
Okay, if you were gonna listen.
Go ahead.
If you Ryan, you if you
This
were
is directed
gonna
at you now.
if you were gonna cake
You're the cake guy.
you were gonna cake a painting
To most effectively,
effectively have your
protest
cause
climate
be
change.
heard, what would you cake?
probably Salvador Dali, the clocks, because that's kind of like the Industrial Revolution.
Weird. Okay. What would you cake, John?
Oh, you know what? Oh, I can cake anything or a piece of modern
Piece of art.
A
Piece
of art.
Probably the Wall Street Bowl. And maybe I will when I'm in New York. That's gonna be
Or the
awesome.
little, the
Calls
little
from
girl
a
going
New
like
York
this.
Yes,
Jail.
yes, the little
Yeah, no, man.
I'm gonna
not
see a
the girl.
GoFundMe for
Leave her out
Ryan's
of this.
bail money in 3 days. I'm like, oh, great! I got $10 here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, by the way.
You
You're
think he'd get
In
arrested for
advance.
that? People have probably peed on it. Like,
No,
Yes.
it's probably covered in crap right now. Go ahead, John.
So, John, what would
do you
you
have a better
cake?
piece of art that we can cake
Here's
for
what
the
I'll
revolution?
say. Here's what I'll say. I don't know art that well, but
Freaking
I don't know that I'd
mouth
cake anything
breather, man.
myself. But if I had
John.
to, I don't know what the name of it is. But
That's okay.
it's a
Just describe
Banksy.
it.
It's the one that auto shredded when it sold.
you can't attack Banksy.
What?
Have you seen him? You heard about that?
You can't.
No.
Wait, you guys
Banksy
don't
had
know
a
about
piece of
that?
art, and it was a girl, and it was a balloon. It was flying away, and the
It's
girl was trying to catch
shredded?
it. They sold it at auction. The moment it sold, the picture frame turns on, and the painting shreds halfway,
Okay.
and there's shreds hanging out.
I swear, you guys, we talked about
Banksy
this.
planned the whole thing when it sold
the
at
f-
auction.
The frame had a shredder built into it. Like it
You
was
guys have heard
planned.
about
and
this.
somebody at the auction had a little like
and clicked it, and then Banksy released a video of how he built the frame, and he built a shredder into
I mean, we
the
still
frame.
don't know who
That's
he is.
crazy.
He's still the man in the
He's-
mask.
yeah.
But
Oh,
you,
yeah,
can't, you can't
Banksy.
attack him. That's
That's the only painting I know that'd be kind of cool.
that
Wow.
him.
You're like,
Okay,
that'd be cool.
Banksy shredding his own Banksy is caking the Mona Lisa.
Well, that's Banksy
Like-
saying all art is like,
Arbitrary.
Yeah.
Like, oh, really? You just paid $1 million for me? Well, guess what? Now you don't have it because it's
and
freaking
I'll just make
shredded.
another one.
but now it's more. Now
Because
it's more. Now it's
art-
worth more. now,
Because
you might say.
art is
Crazy.
dead.
You might say
that's-
it's worth
That's
more.
the sad, ironic part is like he probably just made it skyrocketed value even more.
Well, it's interesting because he didn't take the profits though. He already sold it.
Yeah,
so
he probably gave it to somebody.
He's paying it
yeah,
forward.
some charity. What would you cake?
I don't know. That's hard. My first thing was like the thinker or something like that.
Oh,
but if
yeah,
you're
a
like, if you're gonna
statue
make-
would've been good.
If you're gonna make like a statement,
The
I feel
thinker.
I feel like you could. There's so many things like in DC. If you're gonna make a
That's what
statement in
I'm
America,
saying.
like
It's gotta
there's
be
so
an
many
American
things
thing.
in DC.
Oh, yeah,
well,
I
I
would've
I was living in DC when someone graffitied the Lincoln Memorial.
Oh, nice.
And
Yep,
that was
screw
a
'em.
big deal. But it's like, hey, it was if you're gonna make a statement about racism in this country, like, hey, yeah, the people are gonna get
And
talking
it's like,
if you're
we literally have our own little like freaking Parthenon in the white Washington D.C. is built like this place where you can walk through, and we literally have like this temple to Abraham Lincoln. Are you freaking kidding me? Like,
Here's what I'll say.
we're holding up the founding fathers like gods. Like, there's a Lincoln. The Washington Memorial is this like pillar. What the heck is going on over there?
I think this protester could, and I'm moving outside the realm of art. I think there's so
Sure.
many other things that he could have caked
yeah.
to send a bigger message. He could have caked a corporation headquarters. Like that would have stood out to me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Wouldn't have been on the
Like,
news.
well, Kara, what would you have caked?
Really? You
That
don't
stuff
think
happens
so?
all the time.
They don't care.
Sure.
Kara, I care. What would you
What
have
do you
caked?
think, Kara?
I would have caked
Taylor Swift.
no,
Smart.
I would never cake.
She would
Taylor
never.
Swift.
How
Hey,
dare you?
gotta get the message
Smart,
across.
smart.
I would probably cake a piece of art that has some kind of material that is hurting the earth. Like,
Ooh,
is there
plastic.
a lead painting out there somewhere? Is there like something that where they got their materials
Yeah.
was
World's biggest
unethically
rubber band ball.
sourced?
Oh.
World's biggest
Cake the rubber band ball, but that
Rubber
wouldn't
band
get
ball.
enough news, right?
Burn
We
it.
cake the Mona
You know why
Lisa.
we're talking
Oh,
about this? Because
that'd
it's
be
the
so
Mona Lisa.
It'd be horrible. You'd
You gotta
probably
find
actually
something
be doing worse for the
equally
climate.
as famous as it is
The
Yes.
Mona
destroying the
Lisa,
environment.
the
Plastic.
Mona
But
Lisa
the
is
Mona
the most
Lisa
famous painting in
isn't
the world.
destroying anything.
It was.
Mona Lisa-
Before it got freaking caked.
Listen, it wouldn't. It didn't hurt the Mona Lisa. Would have been cooler if they'd stolen the Mona Lisa and
Oh,
then
yeah.
held
Hold
it
it for
at
ransom.
and
yeah.
ransom for like donating to all these
like,
causes,
all-
and then it'll get returned.
Whoa.
That would have been badass.
Let's do it. You wanna do that?
Okay, no, we're not doing that. For the record,
Hey, Kara, cut to my camera.
Do your
Cut to
Nick
my camera.
Cage. Do your Nick Cage.
I'm gonna steal it. I'm gonna steal the Mona Lisa. After
Okay.
they clean that cake off of it.
You're not going to eat
Riley,
the cake?
Riley, I need your help.
John, you're the Riley. Come on.
Oh, I don't know, Riley.
Ben, hack, and then
You're
that's
a
it.
hack.
And then that's it. And then Christopher
Burn.
Walken's there. No, it's not Christopher Walken. It's the other actor that kind of looks like
Yes,
him.
he
Kinda-
kind of
he kinda
looks
looks
like
like
him.
That was the one that was like the full
Yes.
pro-Trump guy. That was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Who cares? He doesn't like minorities or something. Like,
There's
it's
so many
rough.
like there's so like okay in America.
Go ahead.
If I was gonna cake something, I'd probably cake the painting of George Washington crossing the Potomac. Oh, because I feel like that is a statement. If you're like
the same
Whoa.
thing though.
But that's-
because like we crossed the Potomac like into land that wasn't ours.
But if you're gonna, well,
We
yeah,
being
if you're like, if
Americans,
you're
of
gonna,
course.
if you're gonna be
Ever
like, hey,
Yeah,
you guys are.
cake a statue of Christopher Columbus.
Well, that guy should
Well,
just, we should just take those down.
Yeah.
We should just probably take those down, huh?
down.
That's probably true.
True.
Christopher Columbus, rough.
No, but it's like because the climate is being destroyed by. That's why I was going like more industrial revolution because it's like that's why we're killing the earth because we're just like
Maybe
producing
cake.
more than
okay,
we're.
okay. Well, what about this?
Okay.
In San Diego, there's
All
that
right.
famous statue of the two people kissing.
Yes.
Cake,
Cake 'em.
that a
Cake 'em.
giant cake. You somehow get it way up there.
No,
That it'd
you
be
use a
horrible to
big
clean.
Oh
slingshot.
yeah, that big memorial to war veterans, Annie. Yeah, let's cake.
yeah, let's
that.
cake it. Yeah, anti-American. Great, she's off the show.
Hey, wait, that's kind of a good idea.
Now, if it was made of a plastic that whenever it gets hot outside emits certain things into
Listen,
the
It would probably be
I-
gone by now, right? I mean, I hope it would be gone by now.
I'm saying.
What's that big
I'm
plastic
pro-
island that's out in the ocean?
Oh, the Great Pacific. Like,
Annie, I'm
garbage patch.
anti-war.
Garbage
You're
pile.
among friends. Okay.
I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah, go
I didn't.
ahead.
I
Annie.
almost said I'm
Oh,
not
really?
anti-war.
I'm very pro-war.
I'm not
That's not the point.
anti-war.
Gosh.
I'm
No.
pro-veteran. I'm.
Yeah, right after
Go
Memorial
Memorial
Day.
Day.
Jeez. Gosh dang it.
I knew I was gonna get canceled eventually.
It's that time
It's
again.
fine.
Shit.
Annie, it's fine. Nobody likes war. The veterans didn't like war.
That's true. That's why.
I don't know. I'm not.
Well,
I'm going to
you
stop
don't know.
speaking for the veterans.
Yeah,
All of
Ryan.
them.
What do you know about that?
All of them. I know nothing. Truly nothing.
Man, that was. I watched. Oh my gosh, what movie was it?
Go ahead.
I'm not gonna know. I'm not gonna know. I
All
don't.
War
right.
movie?
No, it wasn't a war movie. It was. No, I watched it with you guys. It
Okay,
was
Star Wars.
No, it was Marvel.
Okay.
It was Age of Ultron.
Yes.
And they
You
were like
watched
having.
Age
Yeah,
of Ultron?
I gotta expose
And they-
Annie. She's the worst non-Marvel
No,
fan
wait,
ever.
let me
you know how many
finish my
Marvel
thought on
movie
this.
nights she's been to in the last month?
I
Like
go for the
3.
friends.
Oh,
I don't go
that's
for the
cool.
movie.
She talked
No,
through
you
the
go for
whole
the dogs.
thing.
I go. That's right. That's so. I do talk through the whole.
no, but like you were
thing.
That
like
whole
you're
crowd
into
talks
it.
to
You were
it,
like,
though.
no, Annie was into it.
Annie was into
She
the
was
movie.
loving
Fake
it. She's
news,
like,
fake
hey, is
news.
that Ultron? Hey, what's his plan for world domination? He's
It's
gonna like
this,
take
right?
over the internet. I'm like,
Take
Annie,
over-
you like this movie? She's
I
like,
don't like
nah,
it.
I don't like the
don't like
movie.
it.
I hate
But
movies.
they're here.
I-
Okay,
I've
right?
never
They're
actually seen a
having
movie.
they're having some like party with
Yes.
like the Avengers or whatever, and there's all these like.
Mm-hmm.
People in the background who have like their like war veteran hats on.
Yes.
And I was just like, would you really come to this party? These people are so damn
No, you
destructive.
know why they're all there?
Why the hell would you come to
Annie,
this party?
do you know why all those people are there? Because they're
No,
all
it wasn't-
Captain America's friends.
Yeah.
They're just old.
They're all
gosh.
World War II vets.
Jeez.
And they
he's
all
like,
know him.
Oh, they had all these. They were honoring all these
Like,
veterans.
why are you there?
No, it's
no,
funny.
they actually.
No, they're all Captain
guess
America's
that
friends
makes
because
sense.
he's from World War II.
Gosh.
And that proves that I don't really like these movies.
You love them. Don't
I
act like
don't
you
You would
even
know it if you watched them.
Well,
Well,
that
I guess,
sounds like
I guess it's kind
of.
of like a movie that came out today. Was
What? Go
the
ahead.
Bo Burnham?
Oh,
I had a great
behind the
transition.
scenes.
Good.
Kara's
Go ahead,
perfect
John.
at transitions.
I was going to say,
You know,
speaking
it would have
Kara's
been a
was
greater
significant,
transition
or,
if
if
you
you
didn't point
didn't
out the
substantial.
Yeah.
transition.
Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I was going to say,
Hit us with
speaking of people who pie in the face of like awful causes, Bo Burnham,
Nice.
Yeah,
he does
Kara's
it all the
was
time.
way
Does.
better. Kara's
Yes,
was
today
way
being
better.
Tuesday. Yeah, just cut the fat, just right into it, right?
Hey, y'all ever heard of that one
Stupid.
guy,
Bo
Burnham?
Burnham released an entire hour of outtakes from last year's Inside.
I haven't watched it yet.
The comedy special. You haven't seen Inside?
I've seen Inside. I haven't watched the outtakes.
Oh, the outtakes. I was gonna say we're
No,
about
I've
to watch
seen
it
Inside a
tonight.
lot.
I was
I think I
today.
rewatched
I
it
was
a
in the
couple
garage
times.
today, and I heard Ryan audibly laugh from The Office, which is a good 50 feet away.
Hundreds of square feet away.
We have a
Hundreds
giant
miles.
house.
They have a
Giant.
mansion we live in.
10,000
As
square
I
foot
walked down the
house.
corridor
Yes.
to see what was the
All I
matter.
heard- all I
The
heard was-
Parthenon, that is my
this was
house.
his laugh. He goes, that's it.
Oh, wow.
I was just
to the
partaking in some
point.
art.
Just a
To the
chuckle.
point, yeah.
Just partaking in some art.
Yeah, sure.
That which
You
is
think
dead.
that's art?
That which is dead.
Yeah, there you go.
I thought what I watched today, which is it's crazy because the special is an hour, pushing an hour and a half, and I think, and he has an entire other hour of outtakes, and they're like fully formed songs. There's like a lot of extra footage.
That just got cut,
It
yeah.
was like an entire other like he could have made 2 specials or doubled the size. I can see why he cut some of the songs, like they weren't fully hashed out, but a lot of
Funny.
good content.
Also,
Really
the
funny.
actual
The fact
special
that he made
feels
all
like
that.
3 hours. Doesn't feel like an hour and a half. Feels
I
like
did
3
take a
hours.
break halfway through on his special. I thought it was hilarious,
It
but
hits
it does
hard.
feel long.
How'd you feel
Yes.
watching it? Originally.
Originally, I thought it was hilarious. I love Bo Burnham. I've watched all as much as I can of him and his specials, but I also watched Zach Stone is Going to Be Famous.
Yes.
which is a small
Still haven't
show he
seen it.
did.
I've seen a couple episodes of it.
Funny. I bought it. We could literally watch it, and
nice.
it's so funny. I think it's on Netflix.
He's
now.
been ahead of his time for so
So
long.
hilarious. So
but
this
he even
special was
talks
good.
about in some of the deleted scenes, like how there's a song about how he's problematic in the actual special, but he like has a whole breakdown of like saying, and he had like kind of a monologue where he's like, yeah, I started YouTube when I was 16.
Crazy.
And I just started posting right away, and I got really famous when I was 16, and the stuff I was putting out when I was 16 is so like drastically different from the stuff he puts out at 30. And he's like, and I cringe. He's like, it's so hard. He's like, he doesn't take it down. He's like, yeah, I just want it to like be there, I guess.
Yeah,
but
exist.
can you imagine like, and that was like when YouTube started. He was on the scene, and like, you know, just like shitty 15-year-old humor that he's uploading, you know.
Or like Vine.
It's
like,
very
he was
interesting.
huge
So-
on Vine.
But like just cringe. Like
He was.
yeah.
His specials are so.
he's so
funny.
good. He's so fantastic.
And the fact that Inside was fully like top to bottom made by him makes it so much more impressive to me.
really, it's really inspiring. And you got to watch the deleted stuff because there's so much more of the him making it too.
And in the actual special on Netflix, you can see him. He's like playing and
Yep.
singing, and then he has like he'll always have like some sort of foot pedal or like a remote.
Yep.
He's literally cueing the lights, like as it's
on
happening,
time.
and just like the effects where he projects himself
Yeah.
onto himself with a projector and a camera, and it just like creates this really like beautiful effect that you just wouldn't think of, and it's
Yeah.
super easy, and anyone could do it with a projector and a camera, but
did it
like
all.
just did it so well.
There was a part that he cut, and it was a Zoom interview of him being like, you know, E! News or something, whatever. And he's like, yeah, entertainment, and we're going to be interviewing the team behind Bo Burnham's Inside. We have the writer, Bo Burnham. We have the director here, Bo Burnham. And it's like him superimposed in a bunch of like, it looks like the Brady Bunch, but he's like interviewing all of himself because he's the creative team behind.
And
It's just stupid.
He has
but
a section
funny.
in the, which is why I think he probably cut that. Is in the actual special where he's pretending to be a YouTuber,
Yes.
and then it like goes picture in a picture, and then but he's reacting. It's the same long video, but he's planned out like how it's going to devolve,
It's so
and it's the
good.
same video, just picture in picture, delayed by like 5 seconds. It is so genius. It's so good. Like the
last
concept.
week, or maybe it was the week before, we talked about like creators and musicians and actors that define a generation. I think he's absolutely
I would agree with you on that.
our list
Yeah.
of this for sure. The decade,
Yeah.
because just his body of work in the past now pushing 20 years is
And
like,
he left for
ridiculous.
5 years and then came back, and he just drops this special, and it's so funny. Like, you should watch. I haven't seen
Yep.
the outtakes, but it's incredible. It's so
Definitely
funny.
highly recommend.
Yeah.
Well,
Crazy.
look at
Netflix.
us. Look at us. We're taking on all the world's problems. for
Yeah,
the-
hey, we're gonna solve them
we'll
all.
solve them all.
Except for the Johnny Depp Amber Heard.
Yeah, we haven't heard
Ooh.
back on that as of
Nope.
now.
Today is,
nada.
like we said, today is Tuesday that we're recording.
Yes.
But
They went
maybe
into the jury.
You think? I mean, sometimes these jury, what do you call it?
Deliberations?
Deliberations. They take weeks, don't
Yeah.
they? Like,
yes.
They can take
well, because you have to have a
months.
unanimous vote.
you
Yeah.
have to have a unanimous
So if you
vote.
have one person who's holding their ground,
It can be a mistrial.
yeah.
How do you think that's going to shake out?
Predictions.
Here's
Yeah.
the thing. I think Johnny Depp has already gotten what he needed to out of this trial.
We're all Team Amber, right?
Shh, get out of here.
Yeah.
Definitely.
He's lying. He's doing this as a bit.
Yeah, you and your climate change
Am
team
I
Amber
right?
over there.
Yeah,
By the way,
thank you.
Amber Heard should lose on the grounds that her lawyers are like
So bad.
easily the worst lawyers
Like,
I've seen.
Comically bad.
So bad.
So
and
bad.
and some of the experts they brought out, I'm like, are you the doctor guy?
Yep.
Who was like he literally was saying that he was analyzing Johnny Depp's behavior based off of his Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and they were like, wait, he was acting in those.
Are you serious? I
Yeah,
missed
no, he
that.
said that. He's like
Holy crap, dude.
Because Amber's lawyers wanted to get Johnny psychologically tested by
Yes.
this doctor,
Uh-huh.
and his lawyers said no, it's denied by the court. And so he watched Johnny Depp's movies and apparently got a sense of Johnny Depp's
That man's an
psychological
alcoholic.
behavior by the roles he played on
He
film.
always drinks the rum.
Yeah.
Gosh.
He's like,
And they-
quick question, why is the rum always gone?
They genuinely were like, wait, you're serious? Like their lawyers were tearing him apart. Like, wait, so you analyze his behavior off of movies?
It's
And they're
like, did they not get these
God.
lawyers from like a Hollywood standpoint?
You would think.
You
No.
know?
What was her budget? I guess.
One of her
Nothing.
lawyers objected to himself, by the
So
way.
crazy.
Which was incredible.
good.
I
asked a
abs-
question
That
and
was
said objection.
awesome.
And then he's like,
Relevance.
and
He
the
said-
judge was like,
Question?
you asked the
Yeah.
question.
He's like,
So-
moving on.
If you want a good read,
Let's hear it.
today Monica Lewinsky posted an article that she wrote about the whole trial. Her
wow.
views of the Johnny Depp,
Monica.
Amber
Wow,
Heard.
Wow, we get the real
Monica
scoop from an
Lewinsky.
expert. John's going to go ahead and link that in the bio.
Yeah,
so-
and I will.
And he will. It'll be relevant in the next couple
Yeah,
days.
definitely.
I think Johnny's already won what he needed to win. Whatever happens now, I think Johnny deserves to win, but I don't know that the court will rule in
This
his
is
favor.
civil.
We're talking $50 million on the line, so it's
That's-
going to be a big.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Big to-do.
I know there's money involved,
I
but the
don't
money
think she
doesn't
could pay
matter
it.
for Johnny. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
This
the
has
big
been
thing
about-
about her
50 mil?
about her money is that she still owes a charity.
Yeah, she pledged, and dude,
Yeah.
Johnny's lawyer,
Crazy.
freaking-
Wait, what did she pledge? What
She
did
pledged, so she got $7 million in the divorce settlement from Johnny.
okay.
She pledged half to one charity and half to the other. She hasn't paid
Nope.
any of the money.
Nope.
It's been like
Oh, they won't get that.
it's
been
been like
like 5
6 years.
years.
Yeah, 5-6 years.
They won't get
And so
that.
they asked her on the stand. They said,
Scumbag.
"Have you
What a
pledged?"
scumbag.
One of his lawyers, Camille, who's like popular now because she
Yeah.
was so intense with
Yes.
Amber. She was like, "Did you donate the money?" And Amber's like, "Yeah, I pledged it." And she's like, "No. Did you actually donate the money?" And she
pledged
goes,
it.
And then she goes, "I use donate and pledge synonymously." And the lawyer goes, "But I don't. Has the money left your bank account?" And she goes, "No, not yet. It's been 6 years."
What's it on Schitt's Creek? We'll write it off.
Yeah, it's like,
What do you mean? We'll write it off. Who's going to write it off?
The government. I don't know. David.
I'm just telling you, I don't know that like the jury's going to rule in Johnny's favor, but I think he's already won what he
I
needed
think
to
if
win.
Yes.
they don't, I already think this, but the justice system is broken. Like,
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like how, and obviously, the
But
court of public opinion,
he's already
whatever.
gotten his like
his reputation back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We'll see. I don't know.
I think
Maybe.
he has. I really do.
I think if he loses, it'll be a little bit harder. But I think you're right. I think he's
If
out.
he loses,
He's-
I think everyone is
Robert
still
Downey
gonna
Jr.
know that
already
he should've
said
won.
that he's working on a movie and that he won't do the movie until Johnny Depp is hired on to the movie, I guess.
Until this whole
Wow.
deposition is over.
Here's my thing, right? Like,
Go ahead.
how long did Harvey Weinstein stay in show business after
Long time.
countless allegations? I think that people are on his defense, and he will continue.
They sent him to jail, didn't they?
Not it was
I don't know if
years
anyone's on
afterwards.
his
Years,
side.
but like there was
Well,
like
allegations
That's
as
what I'm
opposed
saying.
to,
It's like
like, a
this.
court
Like
thing.
I don't think his career's over because of this. Like
No,
I
I
think
don't
that
think so.
Well, people
Where-
are
where
people
that's
are
a
already
little bit different.
people are already
it is
petitioning for
extremely
him.
different. But I'm saying like in Hollywood, like they
They already want him back for
yes.
the
yeah,
Dex
like
Pirates.
this is just gonna help him.
Yes. No, I'm with you on that.
Yep, we'll see. Hopefully by next week we'll have something.
Well,
but
Yep.
Godspeed to our boy from the
And this is sad.
the
Like,
Hollywood
this-
vampires.
I'm sorry. Like, is this stupid? Like, this is stupid.
Who?
This whole thing is
That we're watching it
stupid.
or that it is happening?
We're like, oh, is Johnny Depp going to be back in movies when like someone literally like defaced a classic painting to try to be like, hey, remember the Earth is dying.
Oh, so now you're on the cake.
No, but I'm
swishing
just
guy.
saying,
I'm on
like,
I'm on
we-
Team Climate Change. Annie, give me some.
Oh,
I'm
gee, now you're with
not.
Ryan. You want to be with
I'm
Ryan
not,
now?
But I'm just saying the fact that like
really left me hanging.
I'm more invested in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case. And we've been talking about that consistently
Yes.
for months.
We do love it.
When the school shooting literally we stopped talking about it like a week later.
Within the
There's
week.
still a war in Ukraine and Russia.
True.
That is actually like Ukraine is starting to fall in sections
Mm-hmm.
and Russia is like invading to the point where like they might overtake sections of it.
Oh yeah,
Like,
war is upon us.
Like, and we gave up on that. We're like, hey, remember when we thought World War III was happening? And then we're like,
Well, man.
Ukraine, you're on your own. Like, but yet, if we do not know every second of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp's trial over $50 million, like, who freaking cares?
We do. All of us do. Not us,
that's
but
what's
like
annoying
the
is I
collective
care.
we. Yeah, but just because like that's what they tell you to care about, you know, the Mona Lisa. Who
Forget the
cares?
Mona Lisa. Who cares? Da
Who cares
Vinci
about the Mona Lisa? If there's no Earth to hang out on, there's no Mona Lisa. Like
The Mona Lisa would probably maybe still be around.
No,
you
because
think
it's not
so?
plastic.
Oh yeah, the glass. No,
It's floating in a glass case.
It's in a glass case. That'll outlive our great grandchildren.
That'll
Glass,
be what's
no,
left.
glass turns into sand.
No, sand turns into glass.
Can't it be the opposite way too?
Yeah, it can be the opposite.
I don't know if science works that
You
way.
grind it down.
No, you're right. She's right.
She's right. Kara's right.
Thank
and
you. Tell me
Okay,
I'm right all
yeah.
week because it's my birthday week.
Birthday
Birthday,
week.
Cara. Oh wait.
How old are you? Old as hell?
Old enough to
26
lose
now.
my
We're turning
insurance.
26.
Cara
Yeah.
is officially older than
She's
me.
old as hell.
Yeah. Goodbye, insurance.
Bye bye.
Let's just
Wait.
have a moment of silence for Kara's
Carrie's
insurance. Hey, Ryan, silence.
No, this is good.
Well, that seemed like enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, guys, till next week, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, hold
That's
on.
right.
Andy
Hold
does
on.
the outros
yeah,
now.
Go, Andy. Go ahead,
Skov.
Andy. Let's see who does it.
Hey, it's the Skovmand.
I hate it here. I hate
She
it
literally
here.
trying to control the show.
We have
No, you're
no
trying to control
AC
the show.
on. It's
Nope,
so
it's
freaking
hot.
hot. I'm
Do you
hungry.
have a nice little sheen on my forehead in the camera?
Oh yeah, she looked pretty.
No, not really.
This episode is brought to you by Tahava. Dirty water.
All right, that's
Leaf water. That's what it is.
leaf
It's
water's better. Leaf
Okay,
water's way
well-
better.
John, can you dub in me smashing it on the ground? We'll see you next week on
What the